Today we're going to be doing two recipes. We're going to be doing a pork pozole with zucchini and squash diced up in it. And we're also going to be doing a Native American Bannock bread. And this bread at least isn't deep fried. As you know, a lot of Native populations go to the fried bread option. But this is a different way to make the bread. And some of you may make Bannock bread at home and you have your own recipe. But maybe you can pick up a few things from mine. And again, being diabetic myself, and there's a lot of us out there who are diabetic, we have to watch our carb intake. And I don't do a lot of bread. I don't eat a lot of bread, but when I do, I try to make my own, and I watch those portion sizes of it. So going to have a great time. This video is part of the Indigenous Chef Series for the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board. So fortunate and thankful to be able to present from my home here in Eudora, Kansas. Going to have a great time. We got a lot to do. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get that bread started. So we're going to work on that. Thank you so much for watching. Okay, I'm going to mix up my wet ingredients here really quick. I got some milk and a couple eggs, and I'm going to add some melted butter. Now I have my dry ingredients. I have all-purpose flour in here, and I'm going to add some salt, and I'm going to add some baking powder. And we'll just start getting this mixed up here. And then I'm just going to gradually add my wet ingredients to my dry ingredients to make a dough. The dough should be a little bit wet. It shouldn't be too dry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of flour to my bench table here. And we're going to put the dough out here and we're going to knead it really well. I'm going to put a little bit of flour on top here so that it's not going to stick too bad. And just want to knead this for about 5 minutes and build up some of that gluten in it. And then once we have it kneaded really well, we're going to put it in a bread pan here. And I spray the bread pan with a little bit of pan spray so it'll come out nice and easily. We want to bake this at 325 uncovered for an hour and a half. You really want to push it in, make it flat, and then right before we put it in the oven, I'm just going to make a bunch of holes on top. This will help it from exploding on us in there, rising too high. So that's what it looks like. And then we'll throw it in again at 325 for about an hour and a half. There's about 30 minutes left for our bread to be done. And the key to that bread is you really want to let it rest well. So with about 30 minutes left, we'll start prepping our food for our pozole. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dice up some of this pork loin here. And then taking the time to trim a little bit of that fat is worth it. And so all we're doing is we're just going to cut these into about a little under half-inch cubes. And then we'll dice up our carrots for our soup and for our pozole. And so you want to small dice these. And then we'll small dice some celery. And then we'll finally dice some yellow onion. And right before we start our soup, I took the bread out. So it's about timing. You could always do your own timing at home, but what I want to do now is I just want to take a little bit of butter and put it on top here and let it melt into the top. We'll let this rest really well, and we won't cut this bread until basically right before we serve our soup. So I have a Dutch oven here. I'm going to add a little bit of oil, get that heated up here, and we really want to brown our pork really well. So you want to make sure your pan's nice and hot, and we'll just brown it, breaking it up into pieces here. And it's important whenever you're trying to brown meat, try not to stir it initially. That way you get some nice color and you develop this nice crust on the bottom, and that's the flavor there that we're gonna be adding to the soup, that bottom part there. So once we have it nice and brown here, then you can stir it. And then once we have our pork nice and brown, we'll add some garlic, our carrot that we cut up, celery, and hominy. Drained well. I drained the hominy really well. We just want to cook this for about 3 minutes. And then we want to add some of our oregano, dried basil, and black pepper. Stir that really good into the veggies. And then we'll add our chicken stock. And we just want to bring this to a boil. And then once at a full boil, you can add the onions either now or later, when we were sweating vegetables, as long as they get in there. And give it a good stir. Now what we want to do is we want to cover this and turn the heat down to a simmer. We want to simmer for about 25 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes. A few more vegetable cuts and we'll be done with our cutting board. And we want to add the zucchini and squash right at the end. So we're going to finely dice this. So now you just cross cut and then finely diced this way. Really nice, bright, colorful presentation. And then we'll do the same cut with our zucchini. And then our last vegetable cut before we can wash our cutting board, we'll just chop up some fresh parsley and we'll use this as a garnish. And our bread is cooled down to the touch now. And again, be careful with the portion sizes. This is a very dense bread. We'll just slice a few, what you need for your meal, and then keep the rest of it whole. And now after about 30 minutes here, we've simmered our soup nicely. This is when you want to add that zucchini and squash. You don't want to overcook this. Just want to heat it through for a few minutes. We'll add the green, or the zucchini and squash, green and yellow. Give it some nice, great color. Heat it through a couple minutes. And then we'll add some sea salt. And then just before serving, we'll put a little bit of that fresh parsley right on top. So really easy recipes. They're not too hard. You just have to have those knife skills. And I always tell people you got to practice using that knife at home. Make it an extension of your hand. And the better you get with those knife skills, the better looking food's going to get. And again, you know, this is an option for, you know, if you got to have bread, if you got to have fry bread, you know, 4 times a month or whatever. I just invite you to do this recipe like once a month or something, you know, just so, you know, to avoid that deep fried bread. At least this is not deep fried. It's still high in carbs, so you have to be careful. You have to understand portion sizes. So 1 slice would be about 1 portion size for me, being that I try to watch my diabetes closely with that. So again, understand those portion sizes and, you know, utilize food at the end, like the veggies. We use whole foods, whole fresh veggies in this recipe, and using them as colors. And right at the end, like we added the zucchini and squash right at the end, those literally cooked for about 1 minute, you know, just to heat through so they're nice and bright and colorful. And again, using garnishes on top would help as well. So, You know, one of my favorite soups is pozole. I love pozole. I love all kinds of different pozoles, and this recipe here is probably my favorite one. So I thank you so much for watching. I sure appreciate it. I hope you learned something today, and I hope you had fun watching. Thank you again to the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board for inviting me to present from my home for this Indigenous Chef Series. I'm so thankful for that. Take care of yourselves out there and stay safe. Miigwech.